Welcome to the Hardcore MBA podcast with your host, Erlend, Bakke. Would you like to have a free copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Never Work Again? All you have to do is rate, review, and subscribe to Hardcore MBA podcast on iTunes and email us a screenshot of your review to Erlend at MrOutsource.com.
Today I have Jeremy Reeves here. He is a sales funnel specialist. He has produced over 40 million in real-world results, helping his private clients and coaching students build marketing funnels which automate the process of pre-selling, pre-qualifying, and pre-motivating clients and customers to do business with you. Now, you may have heard that the money is in the list. Well, if you don't have a funnel, if you don't have some kind of way of building a list, then you're screwed. That's why I invited Jeremy here to talk about what he does for his customers. Welcome to the call.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me here.
What do you love about funnels?
Everything. Obviously it's awesome that you make more income from them. You basically turn more customers and more prospects into customers and clients. But another thing that's awesome about it is by having everything in place, you kind of do that while you're building the relationship, if you do it the right way at least. And then also it helps with so much, and your audience is going to love this. It helps so much with taking so much off of your plate. You know what I mean? I work with, over my career, I've worked with all kinds of different clients, from e-commerce stores to information marketers. And one of the things that I'm really starting to focus on now is, coaches, consultants, and service providers. Because, everybody in that space kind of, you spend so much time marketing yourself and, constantly, trying to pre-sell your clients and all that kind of stuff. And putting these funnels in place, kind of does all that for you, and it's kind of like, if anybody on here has a sales team, it's kind of like having, the perfect salesman work for you, 24 hours a day. Because you can, you put everything in place and everything's in the right spot, saying the right thing, positioning yourself the right way, and it does that all, automated, and and then you can use like all the various, marketing automation tools, Active Campaign and Entreport and Infusionsoft and all that. You can get really, really advanced with it. So
lead pages.
Yeah, lead pages for building the pages. I like Optimize Press. Both of those. I work with both of those. So yeah, it's awesome, and everything integrates together, so it's all good.
So what about Kajabi? What do you think about their lead pages?
Yeah, Kajabi is actually one that I've never used. So I don't really have any personal preference or non-preference or anything with it. I've actually never tried them.
So have you checked out My Funnel?
Yeah. I looked at I looked at your website, and I think it'd be kind of cool, to kind of go through it and give everybody, a kind of a glimpse of, what I would do, just based off, limited information, So you're now, just to clarify, you're now on youwillneverworkagain.com. Yeah, I am.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So anybody listening, as I'm going through this, I'll try to explain it, as good as I can. But I would recommend going to, youwillneverworkagain.com so you can kind of see what I'm looking at too. So that way you get a little bit better of an understanding of, kind of where I'm coming from, that kind of thing. But yeah, so I'm basically just going to go through the website and just say what I would do if it were my business. So then, some of this you might have in place, some of it you might not, it's kind of hard to go through the whole funnel, without really digging in, going through every little page and everything like that. But yeah, so I mean, when you're eventually selling, like services in the end, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Our end goal is to get a recurring revenue from people outsourcing to my company, MrOutsource.com. Basically, we will interview you about your business, figure out your business model, and then we'll hook you up with the one person or two people, or maybe you'll use like lots of different disciplines. And the way we sell something called the Dream Team, where you pay us $497 a month, and then you get a certain amount of hours, and you have to use those hours, or it's like use it or lose it. So yes, a long answer short. Yes, we sell services.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So what I would do, I like that you have a book. That's always a good, kind of authority builder, So one of the things that I like to do when you have a book, and especially yours is, it's an international bestseller, so you already have a lot of credibility, which is really good. So one thing I would do is leverage that, and instead of having them go to Amazon to buy it, set up your own thing, and you could probably integrate with Amazon to have them ship it and do all fulfillment and everything like that. But sell it like as a free plus shipping offer, because then it gives people a really, really easy way to kind of like get into your world. You know what I mean? And get them on your list. And then one thing you could do is if they go set up a page where you're selling the book, say it's, I don't know, free plus whatever, $5.95 shipping or whatever it is. And then you could have like an international thing. Maybe it's $9.95 or whatever. But have that in place, and if people click off of the page, you can either do something like retarget them and say, hey, you didn't take us up on the free plus shipping offer. Why don't you just download it? Here, you can take the digital copy for free, or something like that. Or you can give them. One of the things I actually do in one of my side businesses is where if they don't buy, the main product is an information product. So if they don't buy it, we retarget them, and we have an exit pop up on the page, and that essentially says, hey, maybe you weren't interested. Maybe that's because you want to kind of get like a glimpse inside it first. So then we send them essentially a sample. So I actually looked at that in my all my analytics and all that kind of stuff, and I found out that people who looked at the sample of what we're selling, and in that case, it's basically like a guide on for guys on how to dress better. So when they look at the sample, those people who look at the sample are 4 times more likely to convert than someone who hasn't looked at the sample of the product. So that's like, obviously that's not going to be the case for everybody. But, for our business, that was the case. So, we looked at that and it was like, wow, we have to get this in a lot of hands then. So we started putting that in the email sequence and all that, on pop-ups and things like that. So that's kind of like how I would start the funnel is, free plus shipping offer. And then for people who don't take you up on that, which, you're kind of crazy if you don't, but, then offer them like a, digital copy of it. So then once they're in the funnel, I would offer them I would probably go into, since you're selling services and it's a not hugely high ticket, but it's a decent investment. I would go into probably like an automated webinar, and get them on the webinar, and then sell the services on the webinar. So you go in, I don't know, 45 minutes or so, and you give them really good content. You kind of demonstrate how you're different, and whatever it is that you do that's different, unique than other people. The process of it, or the results you have, or maybe the easiness of it. That could be one. Like if it's I know a lot of people it's kind of a big jump, to start, that first employee, that first like major outsourcing decision is a big jump for some people. And I can, if there's anybody here, but just a quick aside, if there's anybody on here who hasn't made that leap, definitely do it. Because I was in that situation where it was like, oh, I know I should do this. I know I should do it. I know I should do it. And then I did it, and I was like, oh my God, why haven't I done this before? And I have a couple employees now. And it's just, the amount of work that they take care of me for me is unbelievable. In fact, the men's clothing site that I just mentioned is I spend maybe an hour a week on it. If it's an hour a week, that's a lot. It's probably more like a half hour a week, and it's mostly just kind of checking up on things, or if something happens that hasn't happened before, I just create a new little system for it, and then they take care of it from then on, or whatever it is. But yeah, so if you're in that spot, definitely take the leap, because it's really worth it. And it took me a couple tries to find the right person and get all the right systems in place, but it's absolutely worth it. So anyway, so going back. I would, do an automated webinar, get them in the webinar, offer, really good value, on the webinar, like try to make it different, because, there's, in any market, there's a lot of competition. Everybody's typically saying a lot of the same thing. So, you're always trying to think of how do you show up differently? How do you, how do you just say you're in a Facebook feed and, just pretend that your average, prospect is following, I don't know, 5 different people in this space of outsourcing. How do you show up differently from the other 5? So if there's 5 of those ads in a row, what's going to stand out about yours that they're going to say, oh, I'm going to click on that one, rather than the other 4. So basically, like in copywriting terms, finding the hook or the big idea for the webinar, and then you take them through the webinar and you have the pre-webinar sequence, which gets them. It's kind of like it kind of like intensifies the how much they want to get on the webinar to help attendance rates, and then you can do things with like stealth seminar is what I use for automated webinars, and with that you can actually track where in 10-minute increments where people drop off. So you can constantly test and tweak. And what I found with that is typically people overdo their introductions, myself included, by the way. I'm always having to scale it back because if you have an introduction that's like more than 10 minutes, you're typically going to lose somewhere between like 40 to 60 people just in that first 10 minutes. And obviously, again, that differs. But from all the different things that I've looked at, it's typically somewhere in that range. And so try to keep your introductions to like under, like 5, maybe 10 minutes, something like that, but definitely under 10 minutes. And it's pretty hard, but it's, it can be done. So, you have the introduction, you have the main content, and then you do your pitch at the end. And what I do, how do you, when people are signing up for your service, how do you go about that? Do you talk to them on the phone, send a proposal, or do you have like a page that they go to, or how's the whole process work?
Well, we actually have a couple of different funnels. One funnel is basically gives you a book called Outsourcing Mastery for free.
Okay.
Plus, you actually get the 2 first chapters of the audio book of No Work Again.
Okay.
You get for free, and then you get about 10 videos, because I have a lot of part of my funnel is actually from the book.
Okay.
So in the book, there's a whole bunch of bonus material, and if you click on it, you have to opt in to get that interview or that training video or whatever. Okay. So I think in my book, there's probably about 30 links to opt into my funnel. And when you opt in, you get like a landing page with everything in one place.
Nice. Okay.
But on MrOutsource.com, it says you get your 30-minute free business consultation, where we actually email the customer and set up a Skype call and talk to them about their business, and that's how we've made a lot of sales as well. So we actually give that personal attention to them and just really talk to them and explain what we can do and what we can't do. Because it's a people business, so we were personable about how we go about that.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, one of the things that most people do is, it's kind of just like, we'll get on the phone and talk for 30 minutes. And again, like, if you notice the theme, it's always about showing up different. That's like my big thing, because I've realized that when you're building, especially with high-end sales, anything over, I don't know, just say $1,000 or $2,000, when you're dealing with things like that, people really want to know that you're providing the solution for them, so you have to make it really unique to that person and show up differently because, again, there's always competitors and stuff like that. And, I don't think there's a market in the world that doesn't have competitors. So you want to make sure that in each individual step, each individual little touch point throughout the funnel, from the time that they, see your first ad on Facebook or, wherever it is, to the time that you talk to them on the phone, even after the call, you could do like, post phone call sequences and things like that. But making sure that you're doing stuff, different from everybody else. So if everybody else is saying, hey, apply for a 30-minute strategy session, come up with something better than that. So you can add like a bonus. So for example, in my basically the second consulting business that I have, we offer that we get on the phone for 45 minutes, and if I can't show you how to add $10,000 to your bottom line in 30 days, I'll give you a check for $250. So like that's really different than a strategy session. You know what I mean? So something like that, and obviously it's going to be different for your business. But maybe you can come out with something like maybe a 30-day blueprint, to hiring and automating their first employee, or something like that, like something that where you're giving them, the way to set it up is basically being able to give them results in advance, like give them proof that you're going to be able to help them, because one of the biggest factors that makes people not buy is that they're not 100% confident that you're going to be able to help them solve their problem. So if you actually show them that you can by actually, solving like a little piece of that problem in advance.
This podcast is brought to you by MrOutsource.com. Outsourcing to the Philippines done for you.
Then they're going to be so much more likely to do business with you because you've already helped them. It's
like websites that have some kind of report on their like fill in a couple of questions, and we'll send you a report on your personality or your personality.
Yeah,
those are really cool.
Yep. Yeah, very good. Very good example there. And quizzes work really, really well. By the way, I actually just I'm in a partnership with a business, and we're doing a quiz, and it converts a little bit over 50%, I think it is, and it's a 10-step quiz. So we know a lot of information about that person by the time they're done with it. And
what kind of company is that for?
It's for a sleep supplement, so like helping you sleep better. As you can tell, I'm in a lot of different industries, so that's one of my partners that I'm working with, so it's and again, like it's a very competitive market. Supplements is it's an enormous industry. There's 1.5 million competitors, so that's a way of showing up different, and it kind of gets people engaged. They go through the process. It gives them a score, and based on the score that they get, we give them basically one of 3 recommendations. Then I
have a question in regards to this.
Sure.
Using this kind of questionnaire funnel system. How would that look like in terms of, so if we took away our 30-minute consultation thing and change that with like we will analyze your business or your outsourcing potential. What kind of software, is there any software out there that we could use to get that and like automate that part of the funnel?
Yeah, so what I do, I use Entreport for mine, and basically it's just I just have a simple application process, and because when you're doing that, like when you're moving when you're making that shift to going from kind of just like a strategy session, which basically everybody gives, to like where you're actually guaranteeing something even on a free a free call. You want to make sure that the people that you're talking to, number one, you know enough about them where you'd be able to help them, and number 2 is you want to make sure they're really qualified. You know what I mean? So basically, if someone comes into mine, I get a little notification form, and it says hey person A just opted in, and here's their website, and the questions are going to be different for everybody. You know what I mean? So the questions I'm asking for coaches and consultants are obviously going to be different from yours, because it's a completely different thing that you're offering to them. So just ask the questions where you're going to be able to get enough information to be able to help them on the call. You know what I mean? And then if you can't, sometimes actually a decent amount of the time. When people apply, you can look at their website and kind of get a game plan first before you're on the call. That way, like by the time you're on the call, you already know exactly what you're going to say to them and kind of what the strategy is going to be for them. And if they don't qualify, then you can just say like, hey, I looked over and maybe whatever, like for whatever reason, you're not going to be able to help them, which is fine, because it's so much better when you attract the right people in, instead of going for volume. I'm a very, very big proponent of going for quality and charging higher but getting better results. So having trying to get up to 100% success rate. Nobody's ever going to get there; it's impossible. But trying to get as close to that as possible, and so sometimes it makes sense to do something like that. And then when you talk to people, you're talking to them, you're already going to give them a result. And like I said, you give them give them like kind of like a little slice of a result in advance, and the trust factor and how much they're going to resonate with you and all that is just going to go way up. So your closing percentage is going to go of course way up, and then you can also typically charge higher fees because when you take away that that doubt and the uncertainty of if you can help them, when you help them on the phone, that goes away. So then they're like, wow, this is the guy or girl, this is the company I'm doing business with, and they make that decision right then and there. So then you can increase your prices, and a lot of times, like if you're going to increase your prices, that's one of the fastest ways to grow is just increase your prices, because there's a lot of price elasticity that people don't even realize. But when you're doing that, it's always good to increase it, but then also add more value, as you're doing that. So that's a whole conversation in itself. So going back to the funnel. So, get them the automated webinar, go through it, give them value on the webinar itself, explain why you're different, what you do is unique, and, in whatever way that is. And then you just ask for, instead of like selling it on the webinar, you can just ask for an application, or you can sell it on the webinar. You can test it. It works differently in different businesses. So I've done some automated webinars where we sold a high-end thing right on it, and obviously it's going to have to be longer because you need a good half hour or so to make the pitch, or you can just make the pitch at 5 minutes and just ask for an application. It kind of depends on the situation, and you can try it. It also depends on how many resources you have to actually talk to people. You know what I mean? So, for example, if you're getting 10 leads a day in, 10 applications a day, obviously, the one person can't talk to that many people. So then you're going to have to build a sales team. You're going to have to give them, whatever percent commission on, sales they make and all that kind of stuff. So the expenses add up. Or you can test selling it on the webinar, and then, you decrease, even if you're going to decrease your results a little bit, but just say by 25%. If your expenses go down more than 25%, then it might be worth it. So you have to look at that and just figure out, what the best kind of strategy is, So then of course, the majority of people on the webinar aren't going to buy on the webinar. So then you can have, I usually do segment into 3 different groups. I do the people who registered but didn't attend, and then people who attended and showed up but didn't make it until the end, and then people who made it to the end but didn't buy. And then so you send them a couple emails each based on what you want them to do next, and then after that wait a couple days, and then I like to have I'd call it a nurture sequence, and that's just kind of to follow up with people to keep adding value. It could be the place if you do broadcasts, if you have a blog or you do a podcast like this, updating people on when you make new posts or things like that. Kind of just keeping that relationship going, because again, in high ticket sales, one of the things that I've found is that the longer somebody, sometimes it's actually good to prolong the buying process, because the longer that they're kind of in your world and you're adding value, it's kind of like you're building up that goodwill. You know what I mean? And each little point, it just adds just a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit. And I've found that in most high-end, when you're selling anything high-end, the longer somebody's on your list and active, the more willing that they are to spend more money with you. So some of my biggest clients that I've ever had were on my list for 3-4 years before they ever got in touch with me, and then they got in touch with me, and it was a $50,000 deal, just like that, because they bonded so much over like a 3-4 year period, and so it's funny how that works, but that's why I like to have a nurture sequence after that, and you can also include lower end like information products, or sometimes with services there's like, if you have your high end one, you could do kind of like little like trial offers, and things like that. You can, I know you have the boot camp, so you could put offers in for the boot camp, so there's different things that you could add in there. But yeah, so that's kind of like the eagle's eye view. I know I went through that really fast, so I hope people were able to keep up. It'd be so much better if it was, if I could actually show you like a mind map of what that looks like. But yeah, is that helpful?
Do you have any free training for people that have listened to this podcast that they can go to check out how you've created a funnel? Do you have an info product on how to create funnels in your funnel? Yeah,
I do. It's a little bit generalized. The one that I have right now, it's called the funnel formula. It's a little bit generalized. It goes through like a lot of the stuff that we went through, but it's kind of like a mix of information products or services and things like that. For my my latest thinking, I would say my new site, it's www.getdreamclients.com, and that one is that's my newer one, where I'm actually showing people how to do all this, because up until this year, pretty much, or last year, the beginning of 2015 or so, I was basically just doing this for clients, and now I'm starting to move into more of like the coaching area. So I'm starting to actually bring out all the strategies that I've been doing with my done for you coaching clients, and kind of showing people how to do it. But it's focused just on coaches, consultants, service providers like that, experts, versus like information products and stuff like that.
And if somebody's listening to this and wants actually a done-for-you service, where do they go then?
Yeah, so that one would be, so basically, the two are, JeremyReeves.com is the one. That's my old website. I've had that since 2006, I think, 2007, something like that. So that's for the done for you. If you just want to say like, hey, let's just get this built for me. And then if you're interested more in like the coaching, and I have a whole coaching program. I have templates for everything. I have all the training and all that kind of stuff. Then that one is getdreamclients.com. So there's kind of the two based on who you are and what kind of help you're looking for. And then of course, if anybody's listening to this and you just have like a quick little question, based on what we went over, you shoot me an email. It's Jeremy@JeremyReeves.com. I'm happy to answer any emails you have. Just make sure it's really, really specific. So sometimes I get questions and it's like 14 pages long and asking like 96 different questions, and it's kind of hard to answer those. So just make sure it's like one specific question.
So guys, if you don't have a funnel, get a funnel, because I didn't used to have one, and just over the weekend now I have like 100 more people on my list that are potential customers, potential business that I can add value to, I can share with. And I've learned a lot today from Jeremy, and a couple of these strategies are definitely going to get in there straight away, especially like the automated webinar after somebody opts in. We actually don't have that now. It's kind of like just static content that we just give away. That worked really well. So also like the survey thing, if we can have a survey, like, enter your information and do the survey, and then we send somebody a survey with like, oh yeah, you could optimize these parts of your business. Then I think we could add a lot more value to our customers, and in turn also sell more services. So Jeremy, check out JeremyReeves.com or getdreamclients.com. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Sure. I had a blast. It was fun.
This podcast is brought to you by MrOutsource.com. Outsourcing to the Philippines done for you. Mr. Outsource is a recruitment company matching busy entrepreneurs with Filipino virtual assistants, so you can have the time to focus on what's important.